we are wired to absolutely have to have closeness. And this is where things get a little bit hairy. Our basic assumption about loneliness is that loneliness only ever happens because of what's happening outside us, right? So we tell ourselves the story, I feel lonely because there isn't people in my life that I feel close to, right? But the primary thing that is actually causing the sensation of loneliness is internal fragmentation. And the fact that we don't recognize this is why we haven't been able to resolve shame or loneliness. And the external loneliness that we're experiencing in our life, meaning people aren't able to actually have intimacy with us, is the direct reflection of this process that's happening inside us that I'm going to show you now. The first thing that you have to understand in order to understand shame is that we are a social species. And this is something that I'm going to be canvassing around the world trying to get us to accept. Because you have been suckled and bred on the concept of independence, which is complete, total BS, all right? Like, you gotta throw this idea out the window because we are independent obsessed to the degree that we are completely isolated in our social species. A human being is no different than a deer or a wolf. We have a herd animal and a pack animal. The survival and well-being of that animal has entirely to do with its closeness within a connected social group. And a human being is no different. The people who try to teach you that independence is a really awesome thing, you can do everything on your own. You've heard all these speeches, right? Everything you want is coming from within, right? It sounds good, right? Why? Ask yourself, let's be super honest. Why does it sound good? Okay, so you say it sounds good because you don't need anybody. Why is that a good thing? Okay, so why would somebody think that that was an awesome thing? Because in their childhood, early experience, or even now, they feel so powerless to actually getting that genuine connection that any type of mentality or modality that teaches them that they don't have to depend on people they can't depend on feels good, doesn't it? Does that make it true? No. And this has got to change, you guys. This epidemic of isolation is being perpetuated by our idea that we are not a social species. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that connection is the single most important human need. And this is very serious for us because we are totally relationally dependent. You, as adults, you're not really in touch with this aspect of your being anymore because you can go get a taxi. If you need food, you can go get food. As a tiny little baby, if I was to take a little infant away from its mother and set it on the floor, would it survive? We are totally relationally dependent, and more so for our species than almost any other species on this planet. And so, we are wired, even in our central nervous system, we are wired to absolutely have to have closeness. And this is where things get a little bit hairy, because our process of socialization, and everyone in this room has been socialized, it's where we learn things that are okay to do within society and things that are not okay to do within society. And of course, that's going to change based on what your mom's like, what your dad's like, what their religion was like, what the culture was like. I mean, it can vary like crazy, but you are still all socialized. And socialization is the process by which you are taught what about you is acceptable versus not acceptable. So here's what I want you to get in your head is the idea that when you come down into this physical embodiment, you are, for lack of a better word, in a state of completion. It's not entirely true because you do come into ancestral trauma, but for the sake of what I'm going to demonstrate, I want you to imagine that upon coming into your life, you're in a state of completion wholeness. That means that you contain within you, because you are pure potential, you contain all polarities. I am meanness, I am also niceness. I am darkness, I am also light. Now, what society does is it starts to split you up. It starts to say, that's good, that's bad, you get to be this, you don't get to be that. Now, let me show you shame. I need one of you to be mom. You. Okay, so right now, I want you to pretend that this is one child right now, okay?